Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast, the Project Investigation Collaboration, the podcast brought to you by the Veritas Project. And as always, we are here with the founder of the Veritas Project, Robert Curtis.
Hello.
And I am the lead investigator for the Veritas Project, Todd Boyer. And welcome guys, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to talk about something that's kind of hot in the media, and it's not paranormal, but it definitely needs to be addressed. We are going to talk about supervolcanoes.
Yeah.
And the impact that the supervolcanoes could have on us, and maybe the impact that they've had in the past. And so, yeah, this is eye-opening, guys, to say the least. So,
yeah,
the two biggest supervolcanoes that we're having issues with right now are Yellowstone National Park, right?
Yeah.
And
the Campi
also,
Flegrei.
yep, the Campi Flegrei in Italy.
Yeah.
So obviously Yellowstone is here in the U.S. So, the Yellowstone National Park, a lot of people don't realize that there's a supervolcano under Yellowstone National Park, and it actually covers 3 states, because Yellowstone National Park is kind of down near the corner of the state, but it is so large, it encompasses a third of 3 different states. Mm-hmm. So it is that massive, and it's if this thing erupts, there will literally be ash from the northern United States, where it'll erupt, all the way down to Florida.
Depending on how the wind blows.
Yeah.
The ash will actually be deep in Chicago.
Yeah.
That's how big the supervolcano is. So it'll actually be like 3 inches of ash
Right.
all the way to Chicago.
So the Yellowstone caldera covers everything, right? It's the whole thing.
It's enormous.
And that's why they have the hot springs and the geysers, simply because the magma is so close to the surface that it keeps everything pretty hot. So there have been 3 major eruptions, right, in the last 2.1 million years of Yellowstone. And there were approximately about 2.1 million years ago, 1.3 million years ago, and then 640,000 years ago.
Right.
And each one of these eruptions was thousands of times more powerful than Mount St. Helens in 1980.
Yes.
So the eruptions created massive calderas and deposited volcanic ash across North America, ongoing minor eruptions and lava flows over the past 640,000 years.
Right.
So this could be an extinction level event.
Oh, it could be, definitely.
And they're saying this ash, we would literally lower the global temperature by 10 degrees. Like immediately, because the sun couldn't get through to...
the last eruption that this volcano had was 50,000 years ago. And they say it's overdue, but then a lot of geologists are saying that there's no dew. You know,
Right.
It just either erupts or it doesn't. So it's not that it's overdue, it's just it's time for it to happen. So that's why.
And it kind of had like this, I don't know if you want to call it a mini eruption or a high pressure event this last week.
Biscuit Bay or something it's called. There's like 4 pools in Yellowstone, and one of them's like the Emerald Pool, is the one everyone always takes pictures of. It's all blue and pretty. And then next to that is like a gray mud bubbling pool, and that's the one that exploded. So,
well, also the same time we have the eruptions going over at Campi Flegrei.
Right.
So, is it tied? Possibly. So,
yeah, whenever the magma builds up, enough
pressure,
the pressure that it vents through one of these fissures, and that's when people start to get worried.
Right.
When there's earthquakes being detected over months apart, then they're not worried about it. But when they're hours apart and minutes apart,
which has been happening in Campi Flegrei. So
right.
So the geothermal events that they normally have there are like we said, geysers, hot springs, mud pots. There's ground deformation, obviously, because as the magma flows underneath that, it's kind of a thing that it could happen and has happened in the past that they've blown out But if we start to see earthquakes in that area, then we really need to get nervous.
Yeah.
Because this thing would just decimate the United States.
Yeah.
It would absolutely decimate it if it actually went off. So this could very easily, especially if Yellowstone goes and Italy goes, we could be looking at an extinction level event, or it would basically give us winter for like 10 years.
Yeah, it would be so much ash in the atmosphere that it would darken the sky, and
we'd have trouble figuring out where to eat.
Yeah, where the food comes from with no crops.
Yeah. So so the ash clouds will it'll also mess with air travel, right? Like we just said, the infrastructure would be heavily damaged.
Yeah.
Tourism, travel, food, everything would be messed up. Then your health issues, inhaling all the ash and the fumes, I mean, this thing would completely change everything.
Yeah, that's what they found out from Mount St. Helens when it erupted, because they thought it was just rock ash and debris, but it was actually heavy metals. There was radioactive materials in there. There was, the asbestos, natural asbestos. There was all sorts of toxic things that were in the rocks too. So it's not just dust that gets on you and then you're like, go take a bath. This stuff is everywhere.
Yep.
Everywhere.
So now Yellowstone is actually observed by the YVO, Yellowstone Volcanic Observatory. They monitor the activity with seismic and GPS and satellite imagery to track the movement and everything, because the ground actually moves because of the lava flow underneath of it.
From our perspective, standing on it, you can't really see. You have to have GPS map it, or LiDAR GPS to map it, so that you can see, like, oh, it's pushing up here, or it's depressing there. So
so it means a flow of magma. If it's coming up, it's got a lot of flow underneath of it.
Yeah.
So it's also observed by USGS, the University of Utah, several other institutes.
Right.
And the research on the past eruptions helps us to understand the future behavior and make development models. But obviously, along with these development models, you understand how it is. There's always, they can say this and it could turn out to be 100% different, because it's a guess. It's an educated guess, but it's still a guess of how it's going to go down. So, and the thing is, Yellowstone attracts millions of tourists a year.
Yeah. And then what happens when all that's gone?
Yeah.
All that income that comes from that.
Old Faithful, that's the most popular one down there, because it erupts. I don't know, what is the time on that? It's like 14 minutes or something obscure like that erupts every so many minutes, and it's always erupted every so many minutes, for years and years and years. So, we just hope that it does not go off over here.
Yeah.
And Yellowstone Super Volcano is actually one of the largest on Earth. It's compared to Toba, and Campe Florida. I can't talk.
Filigre,
yes. So, and they're having issues with Campe Filigre right now.
Yeah.
So this is a global effector. If either of these two completely go.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the other one.
Campe Filigre.
Yep. So it's located near Naples, Italy, and it's part of a larger volcanic area known for its extensive caldera formed by past eruptions. And I'm going to do this here so we're not looking over there. We'll be looking right at the camera here.
There you go.
So now, the last major eruption there was about 39,000 years ago.
Yeah. And
there's another volcano in the area that if the one went off, they would both go off.
Right. That's how.
So they both connected underground with the same lava flow. So if this thing goes off, you're looking at the same type of thing. But we would lose about 1/3 of Italy if this thing erupted. So, I mean,
quite a mess.
It would be quite a mess.
Well, how do you evacuate a third of a country. You know, like where do they go?
Do you have time to evacuate a third of the country is the thing. I mean, you can assume, you know, once the earthquakes start, you can assume that it's gonna go, but you know,
it's not like in America where everybody can just pile onto the interstate and just go.
Well,
you know, Italy,
that'd be a mess too. You know, that'd be a mess of people trying to leave. Oh, thanks for the gift, guys.
Oh, that's fun.
Robin, thank you for the balloons.
Shiny balloons.
Shiny air balloons. Oh, and I get corn. It's corn. It's a big lump of knobs. It has the juice. It has the juice.
Yay.
So, Kim sent me corn. Yay. So we had to sing the corn song.
That's fun.
So, now both of them are, in comparison, Yellowstone and Campe Flegrei, both are classified as a supervolcano.
Yep.
Due to their eruption potential. Now, Yellowstone is primarily monitored for seismic and geothermal, while Campe Flegrei shows significant ground deformation and gas emissions.
Right.
So the way they are worked and the way they track is a little bit different, and so you know they're a little different. So
right.
The difference in the eruption history. You know, obviously, like we said, Campe Flegrei has had more recent.
Yeah, 39,000 as opposed to 50,000.
So, basically, they'd have the same impact, right? Except on two sides of the planet.
Right.
You know, as far as destruction level and clouds and all that kind of stuff. So, it would be an absolute mess. Thank you again for the balloons, Robin.
Yeah.
It would be an absolute mess.
Yeah, it would. It'd be unbelievable. The Red Cross couldn't handle it.
Yeah, the whole governments would be in chaos. Yeah. I mean, because how do you deal with something that affects, you know, a third of your country?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, who that, like I say, where would you send the refugees to? Yeah, they have to like fill up Spain. You know, I mean, I don't know how you would even evacuate a third of a country like that. If it was America, it'd be different because America's so big.
Right.
You know, like a third, you could easily absorb.
Right, because there's a lot of America that's just empty space. Right. You know?
Right, I mean, where Yellowstone is a lot of empty space.
There's a lot of empty space, right. But, you know, you could move people down to the south, Arizona and Texas and stuff. That'd bring a whole lot of new problems.
Yeah,
you know,
refugees could even go into Canada.
Exactly, but if you think of it this way, I think we'd have an easier time in the United States moving the people because you could start bringing in the shipping containers and start building shipping container houses and build communities at the edge of the desert.
Right.
You know, so, you know, the people up north would have to get used to the heat real quick.
Idaho and places, yeah.
But, I mean, that would be a possibility. Now, Campe Flegrei, like we said, has a companion, ignimbrite, right, that would erupt, and that erupted about 39,000 years ago, and it has smaller eruptions and ongoing volcanic activity. So this is a twofer. So if you know Flegrei goes, then ignimbrite would go, and it would just be a mess. So, and they have found history of activity from the composition in the soil and the rocks and everything, you know, core samples, so they can see how long ago these have erupted.
Yeah, you can see the ejecta, they call it, the stuff that comes out, in where it's distributed at. They could find those minerals and know, like, well, it went all the way to here last time, so we would model that force, you know, and see. But the last time Yellowstone erupted, it was a category 6, and they're saying that when it because it's gone, it's built up for so long, it'll be an 8 when it does go, and that's the highest that a volcano has ever erupted in history, in our known history. So
currently at Campe Flegrei, we've got increased ground deformation, which means you know, it's an uplift in recent decades, which means that more pressure is building underneath. There's a lot more gas emissions, right, and hot springs, fumaroles, and then frequent minor earthquakes, most recently, and that's the big thing that they're looking at right now. And they're really monitoring it close. So the Vesuvius laboratory is like, keep an eye on it. The observatory, excuse me.
Yeah.
So,
and the paranormal aspect of it, because we have to bring it full circle.
Paranormal. Okay.
They believe that the magma discharge from a volcano is a way that UFOs can recharge their batteries. So whenever there's a...
Thank you, Robin.
Hey, thank you. Whenever there's a eruption, UFOs will go to that site to draw off that energy to recharge all of their systems. It's basically free energy for the UFOs. So
right.
If you ever see that there's a UFO or a volcano feed and they cut it from time to time, that's because they've seen something that they don't want to show you. So that's why they'll...
Speaking of, I have a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So I saw a video this week. A gentleman's like, I learned through the Bible how to summon UFOs.
Okay.
He said it's all right there. And the news followed, the news picked the time, the place, the spot. And they're like, okay, show us, And they're thinking, yeah, whatever, right? So next thing you know, right above them is a ball, an orange ball in the sky. And they're like, wait a minute.
Wow.
So it was kind of an interesting video.
Well, not from the Bible, but I know Dr. Stephen Greer has what he calls a CE5.
You have corn, sir.
Yay, it's corn. It's a big lump with knobs. It has the juice.
Welcome to the team, guys.
He has what he calls a CE5 protocol, where you meditate on yourself and where you're at. And then you go one step beyond that, like you're a balloon drifting away from yourself. Mm-hmm. And then you put out into the universe, like, I'm here in this backyard and wherever. And then that is in this state. Mm-hmm. And then that state is in this country. And then this country is on this planet.
Kind of turning yourself into a beacon.
Yeah. And then
with an exact location.
The aliens can follow that thought pattern that you're projecting and hone into you, and they'll come along the horizon, or they'll see what you're about. And apparently it works pretty good. That's why I was saying one of the things I want to try this summer is to try to do the CE5
we can do that. We can go out and make that happen, make some videos on that.
We go out to the farm where it's a little darker and you can see the sky a little better.
So I don't know, not derail my train of thought. I hate when that happens. I'm literally in mid-thought process and totally lose it. Doggone it. What was I going to say?
You're talking about UFOs?
Yeah. Oh, they just discovered a planet that's like, how far away was it? But basically it looks just like Earth. Okay. Not like as far as like from a distance. Right. When they look at it, it looks like it has clouds and water and all kinds of stuff. Huh. So they just found a planet that looks like Earth. So that adds another possibility to life out there. There's got to be something out there, guys.
Another place we could travel to and ruin it.
Yeah. No kidding.
Just like we ruined this one.
Oh, my goodness. So, yeah. Oh, man. There's so many new discoveries here lately with, UFOs and new pyramids. And,
yeah.
We always go down the rabbit holes, but...
Well, we wanted to talk about the magnetic north migration at some point too. I don't know if anybody's aware of that, but the magnetic north is like near France now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
It's like not in the North Pole anymore. It moved. It used to move like 3 inches a year, and then it started moving like 6 inches a year in the 70s. And then it started migrating like feet. And then it kind of came back. And then it was drifting down towards Canada. And then now it has gone way off. Way off.
Wow.
But they think that the magma core of the Earth is actually slowing its rotation down.
That's not good for us.
And that's what's making the magnetic pole shift. And then once the core stops, it can actually turn backwards.
Right.
And what they think is because the Earth, everybody always thinks like you see like the model on the sticks, like here's the sun, here's the planets. But actually our universe is moving at the same time. So that's the whole rabbit hole of time travel that I always think is funny, because like if you were here right where I'm standing, and then you went 50 years in the past,
right,
you wouldn't be here, because this is empty space 50 years ago.
Because like we don't just rotate around the sun, it's a spiral.
Right, the
because
sun
we're
is moving
flying
too.
through through space. The whole solar system is flying through space.
Right, and our solar system is moving, and then the sun is moving, and then our galaxy is moving too. So all of those things are moving at the same time. So the rotational force of the planet moving creates the magma that's turning inside of it, the core of molten rock and metal and everything. So if that slows down, then because the Earth is still turning, it'll start to actually turn backwards.
Right.
And then they believe that because that core is unstable, then the planet will flip over, and then the equator will be north-south instead of the equator. So,
yay, fun things. Just to show how insignificant we are in the universe.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that at one point maybe the United States could be Antarctica if we come up on that flip.
Yep, that is true. Well, unless somebody just flips the coin over. We're flat earthers, flip the coin over, right?
Right.
So back to the supervolcanoes. Yeah, pretty much, Mad Hatter, you hit the nail on the head. If these volcanoes erupt, especially if they erupt at the same time, the whole northern hemisphere will be in bad shape. So, and we will probably lose a lot of the population.
Yeah.
Due to starvation first we'll lose a big chunk in the initial blast.
Yeah.
Right, in both places.
Oh yeah. And
then with the following, winter.
The debris.
Yeah. Basically we'll have winter for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And it'll be a mess, and we'll lose a lot of people. Yeah. And how much can you do? I mean, you can try to do risk mitigation and whatnot, but when it comes down to it, something is an ELE, extinction level event.
Yeah.
It could definitely affect. I don't know if it'd be an extinction level event, but it would definitely knock out a lot of life on the planet. So
yeah, even people who are like those bunker people who live like in the missile silos or whatever, they would just smooth the whole thing over.
Yeah.
You'd be buried under thousands and thousands of feet, or thousands of tons of ash.
Yep.
So you'd be digging for a long time to try to get back out. Yeah, it's a crazy thing to think about. Because volcanoes erupt all the time all over the world,
right?
And they cause all kinds of destruction. And one that's as big as a state erupts, that's just whole orders of magnitude of crazy.
So, yeah, there's something for you guys to think about. Bob and I always like to dip our toe into the information and let you guys go out there and really dig in yourselves. We like to get you interested. And we want to thank you guys for joining us on the Supervolcano podcast this week.
Yep.
I know it's not our normal paranormal thing that we talk about, but it does have paranormal implications.
Yeah,
but it has world implications, so it's very important. We thought we'd get this out there. And don't forget, there is still time if you guys want to come out to the first annual meet and greet. We do have 4 slots left available.
Yep.
And it's at $110 per person at the Lemp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri. And that is one of the most haunted places in the country. And Bob and I have given hundreds of tours there over the years. And we both know our way around that place. And we guarantee that place is absolutely 112% haunted.
Oh, yeah. And that
112%.
One of the things I always talk about with using investigation equipment is that the spirits have to learn how to adapt to using that equipment, and the spirits in the Lemp Mansion have become masters at using the spirit box, the obelisk, anything that you have, they've seen thousands of times, and they're absolute masters at using it. So you'll get some of the best responses you've ever had in your entire life from that location.
So we will be chatting with the live after we get done. So I saw some questions down here on the live.
Yeah.
So guys, thank you for joining us on the Supervolcano podcast. Don't forget, you can get our email addresses from the end of the video.
Yep.
There's a card that has both our emails. If you guys want to send us something, don't hesitate to, if you're watching us live on TikTok, you can send us something on TikTok. Absolutely, we'll answer any questions you guys have, and we'll stick around and talk to you guys on the live. And once again, thanks for joining us on the podcast on YouTube. And as always,
stay curious
and find the truth, and we will catch you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
See ya.